Governor Ron DeSantis' money problems continue to deepen ahead of what could very well be the most important stretch in the entire campaign. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video today. It is time that we talk about the 2024 Republican presidential primary. Because once again, Governor Ron DeSantis' campaign is back in the news. And not for a good reason. What a shocker. Because according to NBC News, Ron DeSantis' money problems continue to deepen ahead of what could very well be the most important stretch of really any GOP campaign. Yep, the people on Twitter kept saying, no, DeSantis isn't running out of money. Well, based on everything we know, yeah, it seems like Ron DeSantis is in fact starting to run out of money. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Guys, just for $1 a month, you can join Real American. This is the best way to support the daily content that we all know and love. So click the join button down below, help support the daily content, and well, help Real Americans stay independent. Alright, everybody. Again, I don't want to make these videos just bashing DeSantis because I feel like it. I really don't. But when it's getting to a point of this much delusion from some people on Twitter, it's time we talk about what's really going on. Because these people are saying, no, Ron DeSantis isn't run out of money. He's perfectly fine. Well, does this sound fine? So let's get into it. Ron DeSantis has less money and more problems. The Florida governor's presidential campaign entered this month with just $5 million in cash available for the primary, a sum that reignites doubts about his solvency, budgeting, and ability to gain ground on the front-running former President Donald Trump. You heard that right. He's entering October with just $5 million. Listen, you can't just have $5 million on a presidential campaign. You should spend that in a week, if that. This is the problem with the DeSantis campaign. They had a lot of fundraising early on, but they weren't from small donors. They weren't from people that, the average Joe from, say, Macomb County, Michigan. They're not getting fundraising from them. They're getting money from people from Northern Virginia, the Dallas suburbs, people that are upper class and have been Republicans for many, many years. But the problem is, there's not many of them, and they already capped out their donations for this cycle. That's the problem with the DeSantis campaign. They relied heavily on these old school suburban Republicans for all their money. Well, guess what? There's not a lot of them. And they already maxed out their funding. And that's the problem. They don't have a large base to go to, unlike Trump. Trump, he has millions, if not tens of millions of people that give him small donations. That's why his campaign, despite all the legal fights, is actually having more money than Ron DeSantis. The pain is so acute that DeSantis is redeploying aid from his Tallahassee headquarters to Des Moines for the stretch run of a do-or-die January 15th Iowa caucus. A better funded operation might hire locally rather than shift resources. Past presidential campaigns have typically made such a move only as a last-ditch cost-saving measure and to look for a campaign-changing boost in an early state. The cash crunch has accelerated in the past month. It's a huge problem, said one DeSantis donor. If it continues to trend downwards and Trump continues to pull ahead, at some point they're going to have to figure out if it makes sense to pull out and save face for 2028. You're done in 2020. You're already your campaign's screwed for then. Listen, DeSantis, if you somehow stumble on this video, here's what I will say. Drop out. Don't even consider 2028. Just take 10 years off from politics, or, not from running from office. You can help Republicans, of course, win elections, but I'm just saying, stay 10 years away from the spotlight. Do something like Richard Nixon, come back 10 years later. Hopefully something changes. Because 2028, you're already done. You just are. I'm not trying to be a jackass, but it's true. This was your shot because you really went head-to-head to Trump. And it backfired horribly. So, if I was DeSantis, I would drop out immediately, try to save face, try to use the next 10 years, I wouldn't say, just avoiding politics, just try to avoid the spotlight. Try to rebuild your name ID because it's down the gutter with many Trump voters, really many Republicans, and use this time to try to rebound. Because I just don't see, how can you win 2028? You're barely in second now. If you take third or fourth in Iowa, you have no pathway next time. You don't. The fundraising numbers and decision move staff from Florida to Iowa, confirmed by campaign spokesperson Andrew Romeo, were first reported Wednesday by the New York Times. Overall, DeSantis' operation raised $15 million over the last 3 months through a joint fundraising committee, his leadership PAC, and his campaign, Romeo said. But some of the money can be spent only in the general election because it was raised by big donors who already gave the maximum primary donation. And that's the problem. Okay, $15 million. That sounds okay. All right, that sounds all right. Most of that can only be spent on the general. And that's why people are misunderstanding this figure. Yes, he has more than $5 million, but most of that can only be spent on the general election. Only $5 million can actually be spent on the primary. And despite rounds of layoffs that were part of a much publicized reset, DeSantis burned through more primary cash than he raised over the last 3 months. Oh my God. Unbelievable. Despite the reset and firing like half of the staff, they're still burning through money like nothing. At the end of the second quarter, DeSantis had $6.6 million in primary funds available, according to an NBC News analysis of his last campaign finance filing, roughly $1.6 million more than his campaign says it has now. That's not good. Not good for that number to trend down. That should be going up. Theoretically, with all the debates, you should have raised way more money. But seems like he didn't. At the same point in the 2020 election cycle, Vice President Kamala Harris, who was then Senator from California running for the presidential nomination, had roughly $10 million on hand. She then dropped out in early December 2019. After making, you guessed it, a big Iowa or bust play. The fact that you have half the money Harris had then, when theoretically should be more, considering the fact that you're pulling far more than Harris, and I know Democrats do have a fundraising edge, but still. DeSantis' campaign manager promoted the fundraising totals as a sign of strength in a statement. They're trying to deflect, of course. Anyone that knows Ron DeSantis knows that he's a fighter, a winner, and a leader. James Uthmeyer said, "This significant fundraising haul not only provides us with resources we need in the fight for Iowa and beyond, but also shuts down the doubters who counted out Ron DeSantis for far too long." It's unbelievable. And I know that it's campaign speak. They're trying to make it sound better than it is, but I'm starting to wonder, based on what people are saying on Twitter, I think they actually believe that this is actually a good sign. Not just them bullshitting everybody. And you look down here. A Republican strategist, Alex Conant, I think I said that correctly, who worked on the presidential campaigns on former Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty and Senator Marco Rubio of Florida, and is not aligned with a 2024 candidate. So this is somebody that He's helped run multiple campaigns, Marco Rubio in particular. So he understands that, all right, he knows the presidential campaigns, and he has no horse in the race. Describe the $5 million cash on hand as a bleak data point. Pawlenty dropped out of the 2012 presidential race in August of 2011 after having accrued campaign debt. Realistically, he would need 10 times that to be competitive with the rest of the field, Conant said. I think the DeSantis campaign is flashing red. After a really tough summer, the campaign is running on fumes, and going all in on Iowa, when nothing else has worked, does not build confidence. He's right. It should be like 10 times the amount, considering the fact that he has all the name ID in the world, he was on the debates multiple times. It's just like, you only have $5 million on cash on hand? And the Iowa caucus is in a couple months? I would start to get a bit nervous if I was a DeSantis donor that gave everything in the kitchen sink for him. DeSantis does have a key asset that past campaigns with financial struggles lacked. His cash flush super PAC never stand up. The super PAC is undergoing its own changes as the DeSantis campaign resets yet again. Again, never back down, and I call them never stand up. Those morons have violated so many FEC violations that if Trump or DeSantis somehow got the nomination, suddenly the FEC would say, oh, never back down. You guys violated campaign laws because you essentially ran the campaign for DeSantis. That's illegal. A super PAC cannot work directly with a campaign, let alone essentially run the entire show. Like, yeah, some super PACs, they got away with it, but what Never Back Down is doing? They even openly admit, yeah, we're running the DeSantis campaign. These people are so stupid. You're running a campaign and you're banking on what is arguably one of the most illegal things a super PAC can do. One of the only things. It's baffling. But it should show you that this campaign is running on fumes. They're running out of money. $5 million cash on hand, that's it? And that's going down? If the trends continue, it's possibly going to be below zero before Iowa. That's the problem with this campaign. It relied heavily on big donors, and when they were maxed out, it was over. If he would have focused on grassroots support, like Trump has, he wouldn't have this problem. Or he may still have a problem, but it wouldn't be as egregious. He would probably have $20 million cash on hand instead of $5 million. This isn't good. This is a campaign down to its last month? Everybody's saying he does only have a month left. Even the Trump campaign is saying 23 days remain until the DeSantis campaign implodes. Looks like they're right. This seems like a last gasp effort of trying to somehow salvage what could very well be the worst campaign in American history, at least in modern times. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Thank you so much. Godspeed to all of you.